My wife was about to take everything from me in court. She was minutes away from taking my house, my money, and branding me a violent partner. And then a homeless man walked into the courtroom and said, "Your Honor, may I show you something he doesn't know?" I didn't know it yet, but that sentence saved me. The courtroom doors opened just before 11 in the morning, the kind of quiet hour when everything already feels decided. I was seated at the table on the left, technically not a defendant since divorce court doesn't work like that, watching my wife explain to a judge why I was dangerous. She'd been crying for several minutes straight. Not too much, not too little. Perfectly measured. Just enough to feel real. The man walked straight down the center aisle. Dirty boots. Faded jacket. Beard gone gray and wild. He didn't hesitate. Didn't look around. The bailiff moved fast. "Sir, you can't." "Your Honor," the man said, cutting through the room with a rough but steady voice. "Please. I just need 1 minute." The judge looked up. One eyebrow lifted. That was all. My wife stopped breathing. Not pale. Not flushed. White. Like all the blood had drained out of her face at once. That's when I realized something was wrong. But I still didn't know how wrong. My name is Ethan Miller. I was 37 years old. I worked as a senior project manager for a mid-sized construction firm. And until a few months earlier, I'd been married to Lauren Miller for almost a decade. She filed for divorce on a Tuesday. No argument. No warning. Just papers delivered to my office by a process server who apologized for interrupting my meeting. Inside the envelope was a handwritten note from her. "Please don't make this difficult." That was Lauren. Always calm. Always polite. Especially when she was being cruel. I tried to talk to her after that. Tried to understand what had gone so wrong. We weren't perfect, no couple is, but nothing that screamed end everything. Money arguments. Her mother visiting too often. Normal marriage stuff. But my calls went to voicemail. My texts disappeared into silence. After the 6th attempt, her attorney shut me down completely. All communication must go through counsel. So I hired my own lawyer. And that's when I learned what Lauren was telling the court about me. She claimed I was threatening. Emotionally. Financially. Verbally. When my lawyer said the word out loud, my stomach dropped. "That's not true," I said immediately. "I know," he replied. "But the court doesn't care what we feel. We care what we can prove." The hearing started earlier that morning. Lauren's lawyer went first. She painted a picture of a controlling husband. A man who watched every dollar. Questioned every decision. Isolated his wife from the world. Lauren testified softly. Hands folded. Eyes lowered. She said she was felt unsafe of me. Afraid to speak. Afraid to disagree. Afraid I'd explode. And as I listened, I realized something terrifying. Her performance was flawless. I was watching my wife become someone else. Someone believable. And I had no idea yet that all of it was about to collapse. Because a man no one expected to matter had just walked into the room. And I was about to learn something that would completely change my life. But that comes next. Lauren didn't rush her words. She let the silence work for her. She told the court that living with me felt like walking on glass, that one wrong step could set me off. That I tracked her spending. Questioned her choices. Made her feel small. I sat there listening, hands clasped, forcing myself not to react. Because the truth doesn't matter if it looks weaker than a lie. She said I checked receipts. That I went through her purse. That part almost made me laugh, except nothing about this felt funny. We'd always kept separate accounts. She had her own cards, her own money, complete freedom. But freedom doesn't photograph well in court. Fear does. Lauren dabbed her eyes at exact intervals. Paused when her voice cracked. Looked down just long enough to seem embarrassed by her own tears. She wore a dark gray dress that made her look restrained, almost fragile. No jewelry. No bright colors. Everything about her said trust me. Her attorney guided her carefully. When you say he'd explode, can you describe what you mean? Lauren nodded slowly. She said my face would turn red. That my hands would shake. That I'd stand over her while she was sitting, using my height to overpower her. Then she dropped the line that landed hardest. She said I punched the wall next to her head. That part wasn't completely false. But it wasn't true either. I had damaged a wall once, in the garage nowhere near her, after discovering a credit card I didn't know existed, already maxed out. I'd fixed the damage the next day. I'd apologized. None of that fit her version. And I could see the judge writing something down when Lauren mentioned the wall. My lawyer leaned toward me. "We'll present our evidence," he whispered. "Just stay calm." But calm doesn't undo a story that's already taking shape. The worst part wasn't the accusations. It was the one thing she said that almost felt true. She told the judge she felt invisible. Like she only existed as an extension of me. A supportive wife at company events. A background figure in my professional life. That one hit. Because I had been focused on work. On building something stable. On providing. I'd been proud of her, always introduced her, always included her, but I couldn't honestly say I'd asked enough questions about what she wanted. And that small crack made everything else sound possible. That's how psychological distortion works. You mix one honest weakness into a stack of lies. When she finished, she looked straight at the judge. Chin trembling. Eyes steady. She said I made her feel worthless. Like she should be grateful I married her. I'd never said that. Never thought it. But watching her say it so convincingly made my bank statements and text logs feel useless. Her attorney sat down with a quiet confidence. No further questions, Your Honor. The room felt heavier. The narrative was complete. And then my lawyer stood. Your Honor, he said, opening a thick folder. We have documentation that directly contradicts these claims. That's when the courtroom doors opened. The timing felt wrong. Almost deliberate. The same man from earlier stepped fully inside now. Older than I'd first thought. Face weathered. Clothes worn thin by years, not days. But his eyes were sharp. Clear. Focused. The bailiff moved to intercept him again. And before anyone could stop him, the man spoke. Your Honor, he said calmly. I need to show you something. He didn't look at me. Didn't look at Lauren. He kept his eyes on the judge. Something that changes everything. I felt it then. That deep, cold shift in your stomach when you know the story you're living is about to split open. But I still had no idea whose side he was on. That's what made it terrifying. The courtroom froze. Not the dramatic kind of silence, the tense one. The kind where no one knows whether to breathe or move. The bailiff stepped in front of the man, broad shoulders blocking the aisle. Sir, this is a closed hearing. I understand, the man replied. His voice was rough, like it had been worn down by years of cold mornings and harder nights. But it didn't shake. He didn't raise it either. Your Honor, he said again, steady as stone. May I show you something he doesn't know about? I'd never seen him before. Not once in my life. But when he spoke, Lauren's body reacted before her face could catch up. Her lips parted. No sound came out. The judge set her pen down. Slowly. That depends, she said. Who are you? The man nodded like he'd expected the question. My name's Samuel Carter, he said. I volunteer at a shelter on East River Road. I serve meals when they need help. Clean up. Watch the parking lot. He reached into his jacket. Lauren flinched. It was subtle, just a twitch, but I saw it. And suddenly, for the first time that day, I wasn't the most nervous person in the room. Samuel pulled out a phone. Cracked screen. Held together with tape. I recorded something 3 weeks ago, he said. Something I believe this court needs to see. Lauren's attorney was on her feet instantly. Your Honor, this is completely inappropriate. We have no idea who this man is. Sit down, the judge said sharply. Her eyes never left Samuel. What exactly did you record? Samuel took a step forward. The bailiff tensed but didn't stop him. I record things sometimes, Samuel said quietly. When I see something that doesn't feel right. He paused. Being on the streets teaches you to trust your instincts. Lauren was staring straight ahead now. Not blinking. 3 weeks ago, Samuel continued, this woman came to the shelter. He lifted his hand. Pointed. Directly at my wife. The room shifted. She wasn't there to help, he said. She wasn't volunteering. She wasn't donating. She was meeting someone. Lauren's lawyer opened her mouth again. The judge raised a hand. Show me. Samuel handed the phone to the bailiff, who connected it to the courtroom screen. The lights dimmed slightly. The screen flickered. Then the footage appeared. A parking lot at night. Harsh streetlights washing everything in dull yellow. A car parked at the far end. I recognized it instantly. Lauren's sedan. The one I'd helped her pick out. A timestamp glowed in the corner. Late evening. A date I knew. Because that was the night she told me she'd be visiting her cousin in another town. Said she'd be home late. I remembered waiting up for her. Falling asleep on the couch. On screen a man walked into frame. Not homeless. Well-dressed. Confident. Comfortable. He opened the passenger door. Slid inside. They didn't hesitate. They kissed like there was nothing to hide. My chest tightened. And then Lauren's voice filled the courtroom. Cold. Clear. Nothing like the trembling whisper she'd used on the stand. He still doesn't suspect a thing. I felt the room lean forward. Every head. Every breath. Men are so easy when they trust you. I realized then that whatever this was, it wasn't meant for me to hear. And that knowledge hurt more than the image on the screen. But the worst part? I still didn't know how deep it went. The video kept playing. On screen, Lauren leaned back in the seat like she was relaxing after a long day. Comfortable. Casual. Not afraid. The man beside her laughed. So what's the plan? He asked. Lauren smiled. Not the smile she'd given the judge. This one was sharp. I file next month, she said. Early spring. I've been documenting everything. My stomach dropped. Documenting what? The man asked. His harmful behavior, she replied without hesitation. I keep a journal. Dates. Quotes. Emotional episodes. She shrugged. My therapist's on board. She'll testify that I've been describing controlling behavior for months. The courtroom felt airless. I looked at the judge. She wasn't writing anymore. She was watching. The man on the screen reached for Lauren's hand. "Smart," he said. "I know," Lauren replied. "I'll cry on the stand." Judges always believe women when they cry, especially if you look put together. She laughed softly. "I'll get the house. Half his retirement. Probably support payments." Her tone was light, like she was listing groceries. "He's too nice to fight," she continued. "He'll want it over fast." Then she added the line that made my hands go numb. "I'll say I'm scared for my security. That he threatened me." The man raised his eyebrows. "That's enough to freeze his accounts." "Exactly," Lauren said. "And make him look dangerous." Silence swallowed the room. Even the court reporter had stopped typing. On screen, Lauren leaned closer to him. "Public perception is everything in cases like this." The man kissed her neck. "You're ruthless." "I'm practical," she corrected. "And I'm tired of pretending." She rolled her eyes. "I didn't marry him for love. I married him for stability." My vision blurred. "I deserve more," she said. The words echoed. "I deserve more." The man asked when they could be together openly. "After the divorce," Lauren said. "I'll tell everyone I barely escaped. That I was brave." She smiled again. "You'll be the supportive new partner who helped me heal." He laughed. "No one will ever know we've been together for 2 years. 2 years. I felt the room tilt. We'd been married nearly 10. The video ended. The screen went black. No one spoke. No one moved. The judge's expression had hardened into something cold and unmovable. She looked at Lauren. Then at her attorney. Then back at the bench. "Ms. Miller," she said calmly, "would you like to revise your testimony?" Lauren's mouth opened. Close. Her eyes darted to the exit. Then she looked at me. Not with shame. With rage. Pure, unfiltered rage, like I'd betrayed her somehow by letting the truth exist. Her attorney jumped up. "Your Honor, we request a recess." Denied. The word landed like a gavel. "This hearing is concluded." The judge closed her notebook with a sharp snap. "Your petition is dismissed with prejudice." Lauren inhaled sharply. "Your claims of abuse are fraudulent." She turned slightly. "The court also notes evidence of planned perjury and attempted fraud." She paused. "If Mr. Miller wishes to pursue criminal charges, this court will support that process fully." Lauren stood up so fast her chair scraped backward. "You set this up," she shouted, pointing at me. "You paid him." The bailiff moved instantly. "Ma'am, sit down." Her voice had changed now. No tremble. No tears. This was the woman I'd barely seen in 10 years, always hidden, always controlled. "This video is fake," she shouted. "He's manipulating all of you." "Ms. Miller," the judge said sharply. "Sit down." Lauren sat, hands shaking. Not fear. Fury. The judge stood. "We are adjourned." And just like that, the life I thought I knew was over. But I hadn't reached my point yet. That was still coming. The courtroom didn't explode. It unraveled. People whispered. Papers shuffled. Chairs scraped. The tension didn't release, it just changed shape. Lauren's attorney didn't even look at her anymore. She gathered her files too fast, hands shaking, like someone trying to escape a burning room without admitting it was on fire. The judge had already left through the side door. The bailiff stayed close. Lauren turned toward me. Her face had twisted into something I barely recognized. "You think this is over?" she hissed. "You really think you won?" My lawyer stepped between us without raising his voice. "Ms. Miller," he said calmly, "I strongly advise you to stop speaking." She ignored him. Her eyes burned into mine. "You were never enough," she said. "Not for me. Not for anyone." There it was. No tears. No performance. Just contempt. She leaned closer as she passed me, close enough that I caught the familiar scent of her perfume, the expensive one she'd insisted she needed. "I almost had everything," she whispered. "And you're still too stupid to understand why." Then she walked out. No dignity. No audience. Just noise behind her. I was still standing there when Samuel Carter approached. He moved slowly like someone used to not being noticed. "I didn't know you didn't know," he said quietly. "About the affair." "No," I replied. "I had no idea." He nodded once. "Most men don't." I asked him why he recorded the video. He looked past me for a moment, like he was deciding how much truth to give. "I've lived outside for a long time," he said. "And you learn to read people when you don't have walls protecting you." He adjusted his jacket. The way she looked around that parking lot, like the world owed her something, I've seen that look before. "On people who hurt others," he continued. Not loudly. Casually. That hit harder than anything she'd said. "I didn't record it to help you," he added. "I recorded it because I thought someone was about to get hurt." He paused. "Turns out I was right." I didn't know what to say. "Thank you," I managed. "You don't owe me that," he said with a small smile. "Just remember, Sometimes the people everyone ignores are paying the most attention. He turned toward the exit. I stopped him. Can I help you? I asked. Money. A place to stay. Anything? He shook his head. The shelter could use it, he said. They helped me when no one else did. And then he was gone. I sat back down in the empty courtroom. My hands started shaking. Not from fear. From realization. She wasn't leaving me because I failed. She was leaving because she'd been planning my destruction. And the truth hit me all at once. I hadn't lost my marriage that day. I'd escaped something far worse. But closure doesn't come from escape. It comes from what you choose to do next. And I was finally ready to choose. Everything after that moved faster than I expected. The divorce was over before it really began. Dismissed. Final. Non-negotiable. But the truth didn't stop at that courtroom door. Criminal charges followed. Perjury. Fraud. Conspiracy. I didn't chase them. I didn't have to. The system she tried to weaponize turned and faced her instead. Months later, I sat alone on my back porch just before sunrise. Early fall. Cool air. Quiet neighborhood. The house was mine now. Not because I won, but because she lost her grip on the lie. My phone buzzed. A message from an unfamiliar number. It was Samuel. The shelter wanted me to know the donation came through. That it would keep the doors open through winter. I hadn't told anyone I'd given away the settlement money. All of it. Because I didn't need it. What I needed was the ending. Samuel wrote one last thing before signing off. Your wife said you were boring. But boring men don't ruin lives for revenge. They walk away clean. I sat there for a long time after that. Thinking about how close I came to losing everything. Not because I was cruel but because I trusted the wrong person. Thinking about how the man everyone ignored became the only one who saw clearly. Lauren faded out of my life the way lies always do. Loudly at first, then not at all. New city. New job. A record that followed her everywhere she went. I didn't celebrate that. Because this wasn't about punishment. It was about truth being seen. My point X didn't happen when the judge spoke. Or when the video played. Or even when the mask finally fell. It happened later. On that porch. In that quiet. When I realized I didn't need to prove who I was anymore. The truth had already done that for me. At Elfix Tales, we don't give advice or tell you how to feel. We tell stories that take pain all the way to its ending, because every betrayal deserves closure. If this story stayed with you, take a moment and let me know what you felt. Your thoughts matter more than you think.